So now let's see what happens if we are a little less klutzy. Where does this take me? Alright, let's skip through. I want to go back to Ethel's house, because that was stay in the shadows. Knock on door. Yeah, knock on door. Try another door. Provoke a reaction. I need a place to stay for the night. She licks her lips. Was it you just ranting? Yes. It was me. Now we're gonna find out your little secrets. We're gonna skip through these. These are all we already read. You can have it if you help me with the gardening, sweetie. Alright, instead of agreeing or declining, I'm gonna say... Actually, no, I agree. Let's get ourselves into the situation. Which is exactly what we did before. Next choice is gonna change everything. Poor Harvest, evidently. Kick the potato sack again. Can't pass an opportunity to take revenge on a defenseless object for your own clumsiness. Here's the oomph. Push the door open a little further and step onto a small, dilapidated veranda. Ethel's garden is well protected from prying eyes, given the rain. So, this needs to be buried before it starts to stink. It's a linen bag. Its contents twist and turn with an alarming regularity. What's in the bag? Now we're gonna find out. Maybe. What's in the bag, you ask? Even as you ask the questions, you doubt whether you will like the answer. Well, if you really want to know, sweetie, Ethel leans against a pillar of her porch. Your questions seem to amuse her. It's a bunch of rabid ferrets. They came and dug up almost half the garden. Most of them shot to kingdom come. The old woman pretends to aim with a rifle. But I must not have killed all of them right dead. The twitching from the linen cloth still has your full attention. It is regular, almost hypnotizing, just like a lava lamp. I could just chop, talk to Ethel about animal cruelty. Is there a human being in there? The story about half-dead ferrets seems a bit flimsy to you. Is there a dead human in there, you ask straight out. Ethel claps her hands on her thighs and lets out a raspy laugh. With sparkling eyes, she looks at you as if she has just discovered a completely new side of you. Ha ha, oh you. Ha ha. Alright, I've changed my mind? I've changed my mind. You drop the shovel and cross your arms. Resolutely. I can't support something like this. I mean, I myself have a goldfish. Ha ha. Ethel rubs her chin. Well, I guess there's nothing I can do. Does she really understand your scruples? The greater the distance between you and this lunatic, the better. I'll be off, you say sheepishly and sneak back into the house through the garden door. Damn, it's dark. Was it this dark before? Oh yeah, we're dead. Something hard hits you in the back of the head. Your knees give way. The world flips 90 degrees until the floor quickly unites with your cheek. Dazed, you sense that someone drags you across the lawn. Your consciousness returns and surges. You feel your body being kicked into a wet ditch before the dirt covers your eyes. Then it lands on your mouth and in your nose, and then you can't breathe anymore. Oh, okay, so we just die. You die in a stupid way. At least you didn't have to dig your own grave. Yeah, we got that going for us, right? Alright, new plan. This plan, stay in the shadows with this whole mess. I wish there was a way to like save and load so that I could immediately skip red text so that I could just keep reading instead. New stuff. Okay, so we're going to wander through the town more, so keep moving through town. Instead of knocking on the doors, that led us to Ethel. She was really nice. For a while. One alley follows the next. The ground is muddy with knee-deep puddles. The paths are lined with run-down huts consisting of nothing but a few bricks and corrugated iron roofs piled on top of each other. You must be in the old town, an area that is definitely not being advertised in the travel brochures. The very moment your cerebral, I can't pronounce it. I'm just gonna say cerebrium. The very moment your cerebrium wants to complain about being bored, you run straight into the arms of a patrol. Oh, damn it. Although they have not noticed you yet. Undecided, the group is gathered in the middle of the road and seems to be discussing their options. Nevertheless, they are alert and keep checking their surroundings. You reckon they will discover you soon because here in your position, you are a sitting duck. Your heart is pounding. Cover up my face or do nothing else. Yeah, I'm gonna cover. Following your intuition, you grab a piece of cloth dangling from a barrel. The torn cloth stinks of rotten fruit, which is a welcome change from the rotten fish that you've been smelling the whole evening. You walk up to the small group of townfolk. There. Screams the front man of the group. An old fisherman with a white, bushy beard. He waves his torch in your direction. His friend limps towards you. Their rags and rain jackets and rags flap awkwardly against their bodies. Cthulhu, Considering they're a limping horde of deformed lunatics, they managed to surround you quickly. The light of the torches dancing in the rain makes the already scary faces look even more bizarre. Nervously, they lick their bulging lips while they stick out their torches, knives, and pitchforks to keep you in check. You wonder if the people of Innsmouth suffer from radiation poisoning. It would explain so much. Hey, new character. Hey, you there! The leader of the mob spits at you. Oh, damn it. There you were, hoping to be able to sneak past the creepy group, but you somehow must have caught their attention. Wonder if I didn't put on the mask, or the cover, if he wouldn't have noticed me. What are you doing here all alone? Well, I'm looking for outsiders I can sacrifice. After a day at Innsmouth, you think you know exactly what these people want to hear. Well, I'm looking for outsiders that I can sacrifice. Well then, don't sneak around alone, come with us. The leader squeals. Impatiently, he beckons one of his lackeys. They're gonna accept me as one of their own. Ishmael, you got another net? Sure, Abe. A man with a rather unfavorable mutated face hands you a small fishing net. It is the perfect size to throw over individual people or a smaller group of children. You nod in recognition of the solid craftsmanship, and Ishmael gives you an angry look. Or is it a smile? It's really hard to tell with these skin flaps. The group moves through the alleys of the old town. Again and again, the leader promises the men luck and wealth if only they manage to make a sacrifice to Dagon in time. The search remains unsuccessful. More precisely, it would have been unsuccessful if it had been your plan to capture people as part of a pitchfork mob. What has been successful, however, was your plan to get closer to the town center. The streets have become a bit wider, and you no longer feel like a mouse trapped in a labyrinth. You have a rough idea of the direction in which you can leave town. Now all you have to do is break away from the group unnoticed. Apart from you, there's not a soul on the road. Eventually, the group leader loses it. Nobody, absolutely fucking nobody is out at this time anymore. He clenches his fist. No tourists, no hacks, not one of those stupid land lubbers. Not even this pathetic private investigator. Private investigator? It should not come as a surprise that your name is also on the list of roving search teams. They are looking for us. Hearing firsthand still gives you a queasy feeling. Oh dear, should I? Does checking my disguise make it a problem and more suspicious? I guess would be the question. Or if I just keep calm. If it worked now, keep at it. If you're readjusting there and be like, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? Just keep calm. I think that's how I got into this mess. If you want to get out of this alive, you should make sure that you don't attract any unwanted attention. You would love to check the piece of cloth you have wrapped around your head, but then again, you don't want to draw attention to it. A dilemma. At least no one seems to be paying you too much attention. The men are too busy limping through the alleys of the old town like a startled flock of geese in the hope of picking out a few more unsuspecting tourists. What if we check the hotel again? One of the henchmen asks with an appeasing gesture, as if the impatient old fisherman was a wild animal that needs to be calmed down. Gilman hasn't seen anybody all evening. He's not at the hotel, damn it. Or she. No. If I say anything, I'm drawing attention. Silence. Your group keeps walking. You're not sure if stump feet are a prerequisite for membership in the Innsmouth vigilante group, but you want to be on the safe side. Pretty soon you fit right in. You limp, raise your fists with the net in the air, and start muttering incoherent fantasy sounds. Although you've been walking around for 2 hours, you haven't been able to track down a straying single outsider. The morale of the group is at a low point, and the old fisherman is not very good at keeping up the fighting spirit of his friends. Your group marches on through the alleys. Well, you're marching. The rest of the group limps and waddles. It is cold, rainy, and there is still no end to this whole exercise in sight. The men grumble, but nobody dares to revolt. Too strong is the sense of duty towards the community to try to pick up a few unsuspecting tourists. Your shoes are soaked so full of water that every step creates a loud smacking sound. The other villagers have not fared any better, but they don't seem to care about all the water. Then bingo! You can already see them from a distance. Soaked Hawaiian shirts, ambling among the drab buildings. You've come across a tourist couple. Here we go, your leader whispers with a disgusting grin. Oh boy. You know it's time to act. Oh. I can only use this opportunity to flee or to warn the tourists. I was gonna help capture them so they would definitely not suspect me. Nope. I use this opportunity to flee. You slow down until you get behind the group, then you take a few steps back. None of the men paid any attention to you. Well, hello, you're still on the road at this hour. You hear Abraham's croaky voice, and part of you longs to warn the unsuspecting travelers. Everyone for themselves, you mumble and sulk away. You rush through the streets of Innsmouth. The narrow, labyrinthine paths of the old town become wider, and you even manage to get a sense of where you are. The path is going slightly uphill, a sure sign that you were approaching the city limits. If the moonlight wasn't completely hidden by the clouds, you would be able to see the ocean from here. As it is, the horizon is nothing but black. You still think you can hear the sound of the waves, but that's absurd. That's impossible. The further away you are from sea, the better. With each step you take, your head becomes a little clearer and the sound of the waves weaker. Boston, you have to go back to Boston. Oh. Oh no, this is the town limits. You've made it. At last, you leave the streets of Innsmouth. They had closed in on you so much that the whole place felt like it was suffocating you. A vast void of darkness lies ahead of you. The lousy little coastal town lies behind you. You've swapped it for a bumpy dirt road and a parking lot whose motorized inhabitants glisten peacefully in the moonlight. At least it's not raining anymore, but it's still freezing. You take a deep breath. The pressure in your chest that had built up during the day now finally dissipates. Sweet relaxation. You will revel in it as soon as you've made it back to Boston safely and have firmly planted your behind on the leather couch. But how are you going to get home now? I'll walk if I have to, damn it, or look around the parking lot first. Let's look around the parking lot. The parking lot is surrounded by a fence made from some simple wooden beams. You almost gracefully jump over the fence and find yourself surrounded by many cars of different makes and different generations. In addition to the recent models, which you can see every day from your office window, there are some real classics on display. The kind that still have a real horn attached to their body. Aren't the owners worried that their antique cars might get stolen? In the middle of this overflowing parking lot in the dead of night, you consider your options. They are few. Break into a car or keep wandering. Kind of feels like the previous scene, chapter thing, where we could either get inside a building or continue. So let's, following that logic, break into a car. You could break into a car, preferably one of the newer models, one that screams, "Take me, my battery still has some juice left." Step 1, break in. You need to hurry up, there's no time for any extravagant stunts. You would love to smash the car window with your elbow just like in movies. No. Your first weapon of choice, a stone that fits snugly into your fist. It will soon make an intimate acquaintance with a car window. You aim and the stone meets no resistance. The window is cranked down. Fine, if you're responsible, some psycho might come along and steal the car. So the window was up. Or wasn't up. Without much delay, you pry open the plastic dashboard. You half worry that the many scenes from the TV in which someone short-circuits a car are all just made-up nonsense, but today must be your lucky day. It actually works. The car engine is howling. You put the car into reverse and maneuver it out of the narrow parking space. The headlights illuminate the many parked cars which have been assembled here over decades. A shiver goes down your spine. The car dashes out of the parking lot and chases down the dirt road. Something tells you there won't be any oncoming traffic tonight. As you steer the car from the dirt road onto the next country road, you're overcome by a sudden sense of relief. The engine roars and you speed off into the dark. Well, that was surprisingly clean. So we got months later. You jerk away, only the pale moonlight seeps through the blinds of your apartment. It must be very late in the night. You're soaked in sweat as per usual. You sit up on the edge of the bed and try to calm down. You're safe. You're at home. You've managed to put an end to their schemes, the kidnappings, and all the lies. You've escaped, but you're still under the spell of Innsmouth. A bad feeling. You return to Boston. You did everything you could. I'm curious what happens if I didn't try to break into a car now. Load last chapter, please. We're gonna skip past the shit I read. How are you gonna get home now? I'll walk if I have to, damn it. Nothing will stop you from leaving this godforsaken town. You will walk the few miles home if that's what it takes. It wasn't that far, was it? Granted, your memories of how you got to Innsmouth in the first place are already a bit fuzzy, but this is still the northern part of the East Coast. How long can it really take? Besides, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step, or you can deduct every mile of your journey from tax. It's a business expense. You can deduct every mile of your journey from tax. I thought that is simultaneously comforting and unpleasant. Unpleasant because a long time ago you started this job to actually help people. Something really must have gone terribly wrong in your life over the past few months. Yeah. Under your feet, sand and pebbles crunch as you set off on your journey home. The moonlight illuminates the path that lies before you, a spotlight in this final act of your adventure. You're sleep-deprived and tired as you look around again. You notice once more how so many things in Innsmouth are makeshift. They've really skimped on everything, you think to yourself. Endlessly repeating to your right are an avenue of trees, and to your left, fallow fields. Just like in those cheap cartoons from the 80s in which one simple background image is repeated over and over. The wooden sign. You are now leaving Innsmouth. Okay, that was the plan after all. And you keep walking along the path. And on. And on. The row of trees to your right seems to be unending. Okay, you keep moving. And moving. Then again. Then sigh again. You are now leaving Innsmouth. As if that needed any more elucidation. Keep going, or let's look at the sign. Wooden boards nailed together haphazardly and written on with matte red paint. Not a masterpiece by any stretch of the imagination, always the same stupid text. You are now leaving Innsmouth. Suddenly you realize something. All the signs are really cheaply produced. The city even skimped on the paint. Instead of using a waterproof paint, someone must have made a cheap mix. The small bits and fibers have dried up in the paint certainly don't look like there was a professional at work. Even the thing that has the shape and size of a human eye hasn't been removed from the wood, it's just painted over. Okay, keep moving. Yet another sign. Again, and again, you are now leaving Innsmouth. You're starting to get a bad feeling about this. It's not actually that complicated. You are walking in a straight line, simply moving forwards. The explicit goal to put distance between yourself and this godforsaken hellhole. Why do you feel like a mouse trapped in a labyrinth? A laboratory rat observed by cold, cruel eyes during a hopeless escape attempt. Your heart is pounding. Walk faster. Go faster, that's right. Maybe you can simply outrun the background that keeps repeating itself. Without hesitation, you break into a sprint which, admittedly, because of your poor stamina, soon morphs into a leisurely jog. The only difference, the row of trees and the signs now pass you by a little faster. You're now leaving Innsmouth. You're now leaving Innsmouth. You're now leaving Innsmouth. You start to feel dizzy. Run a bit faster. You must persevere. You must get through to the other side. You're now leaving Innsmouth. You can't give up now. You're now leaving Innsmouth. You've already left this goddamn town. It should be the easiest thing in the world to reach the next town. You're now leaving Innsmouth. Child's play. You're now leaving Innsmouth. Your heart is pounding. You're now leaving Innsmouth, but you're unsure if that is because you're running or because of the panic rising in your chest. You're now leaving Innsmouth. Your arms begin to tingle. You're now leaving Innsmouth. There's pressure building in your chest. You're now leaving Innsmouth. You have left Innsmouth forever. Final destination. You suffer a heart attack. Recommendation, less stress. It's PT all over again. What happens if I was to turn around? By hotwire a car, it'll get us out. If I just keep running forward, I die. What happens if I do go by foot, but then I choose to turn around? Or if I made the conclusion that it's a repeat, like the signs are identical. Let's find out. Let's get to that point. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. Tax evasion. We love tax evasion. Look at the sign more closely. Here we go. All the signs are identical. All the signs are identical, down to the last small detail. You could swear it. There, on the last letter where the paint had been applied too thickly and then had slowly trickled down the sign. Okay, keep moving. Yet another sign, again and again. You are now leaving Innsmouth. You're starting to get a bad feeling about this. It's not actually that complicated. You're walking in a straight line, simply moving forward. The explicit goal, to put distance between yourself and this godforsaken household. This is all the same now. Turn around. Stop. No, it doesn't work that way, a voice whispers. The voice is harsh and rough, like a voice that doesn't speak very often. And that's a shame, because what it says makes a lot of sense. You don't feel like you're actually moving forward. It's like you're stranded, a fish out of water flapping about on land and slowly suffocating. You jerk yourself out of these dark thoughts. You turn around, prepared to walk the same many hundreds of yards that you have just walked, but to your horror you realize that Innsmouth is still right there in front of you. Have you been walking on the same spot for the last 10 minutes? If you ever make it back to Boston, this is definitely an episode that you should discuss with your therapist. The parking lot is surrounded by a fence made from some simple wooden beams. You almost gracefully jump over the fence and find yourself surrounded by many cars of different makes and different generations. In addition to the recent models which you can see every day from your office window, there are some real classics on display. The kind that have a real horn attached to their body. Okay, so that's now the same too. Keep wandering around. There must be a better way to get out of all this than stealing a car. You walk aimlessly across the car cemetery and stroll past the many pickup trucks. You make a detour over the antique cars and stroke your fingertips over the sandy windows of the minibuses. There's no cab stand anywhere. You've already gotten used to it, but there is still not reception in your cell phone. There's simply no other solution to your problem. How else are you supposed to leave this place? Stealing is such an unpleasant word. Now, breaking the car is my only option. Okay, so that's all going to be exactly the same then. Bummer. There's one more thing at the very least I do want to try. I would like to know, back when we found the little girl at the arcade, I can already feel my throat's getting a little raspy. If I went back to the arcade, or when we got her, I think I have to repeat the arcade part, but not let her lead us to that house, but the one that was written instead. That's my last course of action. In order to do that, though, I do believe I have to repeat the arcade part. I think I have to go here, the town square. Then skip through all this mess to the arcade, to the, well, that is the arcade. Doesn't matter what I pick, just, or at least I don't think it does. Look at the games, first person. Yeah, it was first-person shooters, and it was Mason. Queue up. Just do that. I could insist on, I don't really care though. Just throw his cap. Take the cap, throw it in the thing. Yep. Keep watching the intro. Keep watching the intro. Keep watching the intro. Keep watching the intro. Okay, now we have to start talking. Instead of talking to her, what if we grab her? A massive reward awaits you once you bring Tabitha home. Without thinking about it, you sink your knees and grab her by the shoulder so she doesn't run away. The girl stares at you with wide eyes, open like a deer caught in the headlights, and you are the approaching van. The people around seem to have noticed her reaction. Oops. Hey, what are you doing? Are you okay, little one? A couple of parents ask. Once over her initial shock, Tabitha tries to wriggle out of your grip. She kicks and screams. Throw her over your shoulder and run. Unceremoniously, you throw the girl over your shoulder like a sack of rice, as if that were a normal thing that people do every day, as if you weren't surrounded by a throng of shocked parents. This monster wants to kidnap this adorable child. First flaw in your master plan appear. You're surrounded and can no longer make out the difference between the faces of tourists and locals. Then suddenly, everything turns black. Every bone in your body aches and screams that you should not have accepted this case, you goddamn fool. You blink and open your eyes, but you can't see a thing. Is it night? All you remember is an angry mob of parents. So many threatening eyebrows, mustaches, bared teeth, insults, and accusations. Something awkwardly touches your hip. Feel around with your hands and find something wrapped in plastic. You continue to feel your way around. Your finger touches something sticky and tufts of hair and crockery. You stretch your arms upward and your hands touch a hard surface. Press against it, but you are met with resistance. You steady yourself and try to press against the surface above you again. Gradually, light floods in and you realize where you are. A dumpster. Fucking hell. You start to make your way out of the trash, all the while swearing loudly. Your clothes are dirty, but not so dirty that they would attract negative attention in a city like Innsmouth. Beaten up by a horde of angry parents, and to know that Tabitha was within reach. The sun is setting and you can't go back to your arcades anymore. You decide to give up your search for today. You tear up the Polaroid picture of the girl and throw it into the next overflowing trash can. To hell with Dahlia Marsh, to hell with her stupid bug-eyed children in this godforsaken city. All you wanted was a relaxed evening, and that's exactly what you're gonna get now. The evening has already begun. Have you really wasted the whole afternoon here? It's unfortunate, but a good investigation knows when to admit defeat. After all, you were paid in advance. It's time to go to the hotel. Okay, so now it loops us back into this section where the hotel is empty. Okay. Ring the doorbell? No. So let us try that again, but let's try not to kidnap her. Yeah? Apparently kidnapping children is a no-no. How was I supposed to know? So that means I have to do all the same skippage into the arcade. Remember, don't kidnap the girl, Necroxix. Earn her trust. Look for the games, the first-person shooter thing. It was Mason of the something or other. Queue up. Piss everyone off, ask about the cap, and throw it into the crowd. Keep watching. Keep watching. Keep on watching. And watching. Okay, here we go. Talk to Tabitha. So not to scare the girl, you gently sink down to your knees. Your mother asked me to bring you home. The girl scrunches up her face. What? My name isn't Tabitha. Oh yeah, show her the photo. We never did get to do that because I selected the other. You find the Polaroid you were given by her mother and show it to her. Oh, where'd you get that? Your mother gave it to me. She is very concerned about you and misses you a lot. What do you mean? I've only been gone from home for an hour. Sorry, what? I'll go with sorry, what? It's difficult to tell the girl's age. The shape of her head suggests that she might be suffering from a kind of illness that impacts on her growth. Is she confused or simply in a difficult phase of puberty? What's your real name? The girl smiles. I'm Evelyn. Visibly uneasy, the girl nods. I shouldn't be here anyway. Finally, you found the girl. Now you only need to pick up your reward, and then you can finally leave this dump of a place and relax at home. Evelyn starts making her way outside, passing by other families and their children. Luckily, no one seems to suspect anything untoward is happening, and you finally reach the exit. Okay, off to... and then I got that address, as opposed to where she actually is. That's the wrong address. Oh, nice try. Is this a bad joke? Listen, I don't know what you're playing at, but I've got no time for this. I've got to run a PI business. Ellen rolls her eyes, but we don't live there. Great. First name's not Tabitha, now this. Is the girl trying to play a trick on you? Go to the address you've noted down. That's where I want to go. You wave around the Polaroid picture. Your mother has explicitly written down this address, and that's where we're going now. The girl theatrically slaps both her hands on her forehead. You are so stupid. Fine, let's go there then. Nice. Unsurprisingly, the old town has fewer tourist attractions than the town center. Fish guts, compost, and other random discarded goods line the streets. A pathetic trash parade leads right to the residential neighborhood. The lack of scary fountains is made up for by the presence of some rather creepy-looking fishfolk. The men's tanned and scarred skin around you makes you wonder whether there's been some sort of large-scale chemical accident. You don't need to be a PI to know that these people like to be by themselves. These are simple people living in modest houses made from rubble and wooden boards. The wood on some of the houses is pitch black and rotten. We have no time for poverty tourism, though. With Tabitha holding onto your hand, you're in good spirits as you walk through the neighborhood. Shoggoth Avenue 43. You're pretty sure that place must be close. Life would be so much easier if you weren't incapable of reading maps or if Tabitha was a bit more cooperative. Honestly, I don't live there, she announces once more and tries to wind her hand out of yours. At least she's not making a scene. The last thing you need is to be seen as someone who's kidnapped a child. The girl is petulant as if none of this concerns her. You blame her behavior on puberty, obviously. Now, I'm sure everything's very difficult in school right now, and you're in love for the very first time, but it's not a good enough reason to make my life difficult. I'm just trying to help you. The girl sighs deeply. At least she stopped trying to free her hand from yours. That's better, he praised. Things would be so much easier if only you'd work with me, you say. I get you home, your mother gives me all your money, everyone's happy. Tabitha rolls her eyes. She is pretty cheeky for such a strange-looking girl. You turn down a small side street. By now you're really far off the beaten track. You've not seen any shops for a long time, not even a kiosk. You could swear that people have started looking at you suspiciously. Tabitha keeps nagging. You're not listening to me. Precisely, and this has worked out fine for me so far. You're about to launch into a triad when you notice two fishermen leaning on some barrels looking over you. Begin to whisper, let's get this thing over with and you'll never have to see me again. Tabitha puffs up her cheeks. Fine. Luck is on your side. Only a few months later you spot the street sign of Shoggoth Avenue. With an optimistic, shall we? You pull Tabitha further down this dark street on which Dahlia Marsh claims to live. Only about 3 meters wide, this is more of an alleyway, uneven footpath, rotten planks of wood, overturned trash cans, barrel of rotten fish. You start to doubt that the woman you met in your office would live here. The whole situation makes you feel very excited indeed. Almost, you're nearly there. All your worries about money will be gone and you'll be able to indulge in some delicious seafood near the harbor. You happily skip over a rotting octopus that someone has left out on the street. This is it, 43 Shoggoth Avenue. You involuntarily smooth down the front of your rumpled trench coat. This is an important, nay, historic moment in your career as a private investigator. You've solved the missing persons case. This is the kind of publicity that will land your face on the cover of local newspapers or even the news. With Tabitha in tow, you rush over to the little gate and press the doorbell button a few times, for a few seconds. A doorbell with the sign Hawthorne written on it. Uh-oh. Mention the name on the doorbell sign or just wait? Mention it. Hey, you say confused and point at the sign. Wouldn't it say Marsh on there? The girl doesn't even look at the sign and simply rolls her eyes one more time. I don't know, should it? Ungrateful brat. Your enthusiasm deflates when no one opens the door after your 5th attempt at ringing the doorbell. Fine. The agreement was that you would deliver her daughter, but even a worried mother needs to leave the house once in a while. The house which has a different name on the door. Maybe she's simply out buying groceries. How long do you want to wait here? Tabitha asks. Another half hour or as long as necessary? Damn it. As long as necessary, damn it. You hesitate, the little girl. You're so close to that bonus. You're not going to have this case ruined over the last stretch. Pull yourself together, you say. Perhaps more to yourself than to anyone else. Okay, man, the little one says. Now you wait. You wait like you've never waited before. Tabitha seems to have resigned herself to the situation. She has stopped begging you to let her go so she can go home. She is at home, damn it. You settle down on the small steps leading up to the entrance of the house. It's the only place in the alley that's not completely grimy. After 20, 30, perhaps even 60 minutes, you rest your eyes just for a moment. When you open them, Tabitha's gone, but someone else now is in the alleyway in her stead. A group of fishermen. They must have surrounded you silently without you noticing. Scaly face with green eyes stare at you. Blackish green tongues dart out over bulging lips, anticipating something. They look like sharks circling their prey. With a sudden move, you get up from the step and rub your bum cheek, where you have pins and needles. Hey, another character. An evil grin creeps onto their face. Walk past them. You think that tourists are simply not welcome in this area. Still, it's a bit much to follow and intimidate you like this. With Tabitha in tow, you walk up to the men. Sorry, may I squeeze past you, say, and try to make your way past them? They grab you by the arms, then something hard hits you over the back of the head. Oh no. Your head is pounding and you feel numb and lethargic. You fade in and out of consciousness. Memories visit you, pleasant ones that hail from better times. Then you return to reality. Reality is not all that attractive. When you open your eyes, a flickering source of light blinds you. You carefully stretch your arms and legs, still unsure of where on earth you are. Are you dead? No. Your gaze wanders over the metal bars and a stone wall into which those who came before you have carved messages. You are lying in a cell, although the word cell doesn't quite capture it. These are more like cages which are separated only by thin metal bars. Not cot, no toilet. Damn it, they didn't even give you a bucket. Someone must have given you a good beating. From your scraped cheeks and hands, you deduce that you were dragged here afterwards. In the cell to your right is a woman with her back against the wall. To your left, an unconscious young man with disheveled hair lying face down. You look around the dark cell. Talk to the woman. Hey, given the circumstances, no one can expect of you to come up with something more creative. She turns towards you with a sigh. Slept well? You rub your cheeks. Big mistake. Your head feels like one big bruise. Let's explain my situation. It's about me, not you. This is completely insane. They got me. You begin, but she interrupts you. You're innocent. The police or a bunch of lunatics got you on some pretext. You've either been stupid enough to come here on holiday, or you're one of the detectives. One of the detectives? What? How do you know? She rolls her eyes. Have you still not figured it out? There is no missing girl. A desperate father or a worried mother shows up somewhere asking for help. That's how they lure people here. Like me, for example. A brief smile on her lips. So simple, so efficient. Who are you? You blurt out. That question could have been phrased a bit more elegantly, but this is perhaps not the time for formalities. Kate, a pleasure. The woman replies monotonously. I am here for the exact same reason as you, I suppose. She listlessly starts imitating a falsetto voice. My little girl is missing. I'm so worried. An accurate portrayal of Dahlia, you have to give her that. And this, she nods towards the peacefully slumbering surfer dude, is Lonnie, who was here on vacation. She laughs softly. What's going to happen to us now? It's one of the many questions on your mind right now. At least it's in the top 3 of your questions. In addition to, how can a degenerate man from Innsmouth knock you out so easily? And would the telekinetically gifted evil mutant twin in this horror movie from the 80s have become much nicer had his parents not baptized him Belial but Steve? The woman frowns at you. How the hell should I know? She looks away from you and, as before, stares at the metal door at the end of the room. Then there are scrambling, rattling sounds. The door is being busted open. But I guess we're about to find out. I wonder if this is the same result as if we had messed with the police in the station and not run away, if we would have been brought here as well. Just kind of ties it in that way. Hard to tell which is worse, the squeaking sound of the rusty hinges or the light flooding the basement room and blinding your eyes. A figure approaches. It takes your eyes a few seconds to adjust and take in who is standing in front of you. It's a cop, and he's not alone. The policeman looks down at you with a condescending grin. Then he fumbles with the lock on your cell. From the corner of your eye, you can see that more visitors are entering the cell room. They seem less amused by the situation. Chewing on their bulging lower lip, they keep an eye on you and the other two, and in their hands they hold burlap bags. I hope I didn't keep you waiting for too long, the cop says in a chatty tone. I wouldn't want visitors to get a bad impression of Innsmouth. He opens the cell and grins at you. And you're coming with us now. Okay, let's see where you're going with this. It's 4 against 1. Your fellow inmates are still in their cells. You'd have to be pretty stupid to try anything. You do as you're told and you step out of your cell. The cop with the keys nods and starts to unlock the woman's cell. Kate, meanwhile, has gotten up with an expressionless face. She stares at the cop who avoids her gaze. He motions for her to come out of her cell. Something is being pulled over your head. Suddenly everything goes dark and smells of potatoes. Just great. This coward of a cop has put a burlap bag over your head. Your hands are pulled behind your back, and you can feel how a scratchy rope is being wound around your wrists and pulled tight. Someone has to carry our surfer boy. He's still completely out of it. Now let's get a move on. Go, go. 2 hands grab you by the shoulder and push you down a long and winding corridor. It is probably the discreet way out of the police station. At least that's where you assume you must have been. Someone mumbles the word staircase. But it comes too late and you fall flat on your face. The hard edge of the staircase rams itself into your forehead. Someone behind you laughs a nasty, rattling laugh. He goes on your nemesis list. This day seems to turn more and more unpleasant. After several corridors, stairs, boxes, and other stumbling blocks, the obstacle course comes to an end. Your shins bump against metal and well-intentioned pressure against your shoulders move you to a slightly elevated surface. Next to you, Kate falls on her face too, cursing loudly. Well, at least you're not the only victim here. The problem shared. Someone pushes your leg forward and a muffled sound can be heard. You're beginning to catch on with what's going on. An engine sound confirms your suspicion. You are being transported in some sort of car. You're still pondering where you might be taken when you are being thrashed painfully against the metal wall as the car makes a sharp turn. It is when the car races down the 3rd cobblestone road that you stop being able to tell how long you've been in the car. You also stop counting the number of bruises you've acquired on this trip. By now, you've also given up trying to get into an upright position. During the ride, you keep bumping into Kate and the dopey surfer guy. He seems to have woken up from his nap by now, and every pothole the car drives over, he enthusiastically shouts "Partay" or "Woo" from inside his burlap bag. Your personal eternal vengeance list has been replaced by a wipe Innsmouth off the face of Earth plan, which seems far more doable and pressing. The car ride seems to go on forever. Hey, let's talk to Kate. As you lie there, bound, gagged, and hooded in the darkness, it occurs to you that this is the perfect opportunity to get to know that woman next to you better. As your gagged bodies roll back and forth on the shaky ride, you ponder what to say to her. Better flirt with her. Oh, hell, why not? When all this is over, you speak in the burlap sack over your head. We could meet up, couldn't we? Wait for an answer. A sigh, a kick, anything. Nothing. Try again. As I said, when all this is over, perhaps we could, if we manage to survive this. She interrupts you. Then I will personally invite you to a friggin' fun fair. We'll have some cotton candy and ice cream, and I'll get you a stuffed animal out of one of those grab machines. Silently, you roll next to each other in the rumbling van. There's nothing left to say. It's nice to have something to look forward to. Suddenly, your weight shifts around. Seems like it's going downhill. Everything feels even bumpier than before until the car comes to a sudden halt. The front doors of the van squeak open and then are slammed shut again. You can hear voices outside, quite a lot of voices. Some cheerful laughter, too. The door to the back of the van is now being unlocked. People shout, "Go, go, go," and several hands grab your calves and drag you out of the van. Now, there are even more hands tightly clasping your arms, shoulders, and you notice a little alarmed, your hips, too. Unpleasant. Yeah, we'll say something. A good private investigator tries to establish a connection with people even in the most extreme situations. Without being able to look anyone in the eyes, you say, "I'm looking for this girl." A painful smack on the back of the head is all you get as a response. "Shut up, keep walking." You decide to retain your dignity and wait. Maybe those gentlemen are more keen to talk to you once they've brought you to wherever they're supposed to deliver you. The stress and responsibility of kidnapping, tying up, and carting innocent tourists off into the night must be weighing heavy on their shoulders. With a jerk, the hood is pulled off your head. You find yourself on the beach. The sea is rippling in the far distance. It must be low tide. You and your fellow captives are surrounded by several sinister-looking men. The only thing that this pitchfork mob is missing are torches and, well, pitchforks. Their leader steps in front of you and points in the direction you're supposed to walk. In between a jagged rock formation, you can make out a hidden path that seems to be leading into the inside of a rock. It goes down quite steep. Watch your step. You don't want to be impaled by stalactites. Stalagmites? Stalagmites, you pipe up. What? Stalactites form in the ceiling of caves and points downwards, so what you're referring to are Something hits you at the back of the head. Dagon doesn't like wise guys. Someone starts. "Oh, please." You were not too far off with the torches. The villagers distribute old-fashioned oil lamps among themselves before you all enter the cave. Your shoes are soaked full of salt water after only a few steps, but you barely notice. The lamps in front of you reveal ever-new paths, twists, and turns, and after what feels like an eternity, you wonder if by now you have traversed the entirety of Innsmouth underground. Where might baby taking you? Look over my shoulder. When the path ahead seems to be reasonably level, you risk a look over your shoulder. Two of your kidnappers walk directly behind you. Between them, you can see Kate's face in the flickering light of a lamp. Her serious, impenetrable facade has cracked and you notice visible concern on her face as she stares into the darkness that lies ahead. Before you can make out Lonnie anywhere, the people walking behind you push you. "Look to the front." For the longest time of your arduous pilgrimage, your little group was just a tiny floating island of light amid the darkness, but now you can finally make out another flickering light in the distance. It's a simple light, yet it is enough to give you hope that you won't die in the subterranean darkness. As you approach the source of light, you recognize two men in dark, strangely patterned robes. Both carry a torch in their hands and jagged staffs that look a lot like pitchforks. Everything is ready. One of them shouts to you. The man walking in front of you just waves back without actually replying. You would really like to know what is exactly that has been prepared, but you get the sense that all will be revealed soon. You follow your two captors down a narrow passage that has been carved into the rocks of the cave. Columns decorated with ornaments support the ceiling of the cave. You are now in a winding corridor and you can't make up your mind as to whether you think that the walls are man-made or not. The walls seem to be shifting and moving depending on how the light illuminates them. Then you have arrived. You have arrived at your destination. Your eyes need a moment to adjust to the new environment, which is illuminated by flickering fires. Your group enters a hall which the ceiling is supported by 4 broad columns. The moment you step through the archway, a lump forms in your throat. There's something in the air that takes your breath away. The smell of death and decay. And bad breath. The origin of the latter is easy to make out. A big mob armed with, what else? Torches and pitchforks is waiting to welcome you on the other side of the hall. The blazing fire of the torches gives a hint of hellish nightmare to the whole scene. Only as you walk closer do you realize that in the center of the hall there's an abyss extending into some unknown depths. So far your footsteps were the only sound echoing through the place, but now you can make out another sound. The faraway murmur of the sea. Calculate my flight opportunities. You are still surrounded by your captors. The room in which you find yourself offers you only 3 escape options. First of all, of course, the corridor from which you've just come, without a torch or any other source of light. However, you won't be able to cover the dark brow without being impaled by some sharp rock. The Innsmouth mob must have come here via a different path. Behind the gleeful-looking horde facing you, you can make out a black gate. This path looks much less dangerous, but unfortunately there are a lot of dark figures in the way. Option number 3 gives you a queasy feeling in your stomach. It's the dark abyss in the middle of the room, which seems to flow directly into the ocean. You keep on walking. Try to look out for the others. Hell no. Just wait it out. It's eerily quiet under the watchful eye of the creepy creatures. You are being led onto a raised platform. You risk a look down into the abyss to estimate its depth, but you can't see the bottom. The crowd cheers and waves the torches. One of the kidnappers cuts your ties in two, then lines you up. Your travel escort blends into the mob. Your instinct tells you that any wrong move could be your last. The 3 of you now face a huge pack of the finest specimen the Innsmouth has to offer. The glances of emotionless, bulging eyes rest on you, and then a monotonous chorus song rises from the swollen gray lips. Cthulhu, Cthulhu. After what feels like an eternity, the crowd splits. From its midst, a tall figure in a black robe emerges and slowly approaches you. The villagers look at it with awe. Time seems to stand still as the mysterious figure walks towards you. Cthulhu, the villagers croak. The stocky figure with a receding chin follows closely in the shadow of the mysterious stranger. You have seen many of his kind today. The hooded figure remains silent. Instead, his helper takes the floor. Cthulhu echoes through the hall again. The swollen milky eyes of the little man wander over the assembled crowd, whose chants become quieter with each repetition. Brothers and sisters, the man begins to say. Dagon will be grateful for your coming in such large numbers today. Today's sacrifice is led by the rope bearer. Behind him spreads his arms Gary. Cthulhu, A collective moan comes from the crowd. The robed figure drops his arms limply. His helper looks at him in disquiet, then limps back into the anonymity of the crowd. The hooded man puts his hands on his hips. Seriously, guys? Seriously? It lets the question linger for a bit. Do you think this attitude is helpful when trying to run this show? You think I enjoy this? Silence. What the fuck was that? I'm gonna keep out of it. Let's see what they're bitching about. The small crisis with the villagers seems to have been dealt with. Gary focuses his attention on your small group again. He reaches between the folds of his robe and produces a golden decorated dagger. The mob starts chanting again. Cthulhu. Gary's voice now echoes through the halls. The stars are in perfect alignment. Today we have 3 outsiders for the great harvest. Dagon himself will decide if they will be granted mercy or if their blood will stain the ocean. Your heart begins to pound as you hear these words. So mercy is an option. Maybe there's still hope for you after all. This sacrifice we offer you, O Father Dagon, Mother Hydra. The priest points the dagger at your little group of 3. Who of you wants to be the first to hear Dagon's judgment? I'm You gonna let one of the others volunteer? In fact, I nominate the surfer dude. You don't make a sound. The expectant looks of the villagers roam over you, then to Kate and Lonnie. The, for some reason, optimistic expectations of your audience give way to disappointment. No one? Gary checks just to be sure. Oh, yeah, let's impersonate Lonnie.
Hi, I'm Lonnie. I think you should sacrifice me. I'll do it.
You imitate Lonnie with an overly stupid voice.
Here. Blah, blah, blah.
The villagers cheer and wave the torches high in the air. Lonnie laughs. Oh man, you sound like a complete idiot right now. Unfortunately, this diversion didn't go as planned. Absolutely nobody fell for your cheap trick. Instead, you just attracted all attention. The locals look on skeptically. I think this is our first voluntary sacrifice, Gary says happily. Oops. The priest makes a grand gesture and points to the edge of the abyss while you position yourself to the assigned place. Your stomach gets a little queasy. The dagger is now pointed directly at your face. The point of the weapon is now dangerously close. I can either grab the dagger or just say, please not the face. Yeah, please not the face. Please not the face, anything but the face. In the shadows of the hood, you can make out that the high priest is covering his mouth. City folk, don't you worry. That is not what Dagon is after. He says while waving the dagger in front of your face, you have no time to think about what he might have meant by that, for the priest has already lifted his hand with a dagger in it, ready to strike. The high priest makes a grab for your hand. His grip is much stronger than you would have expected from a hypersensitive man named Gary. Determined, he cuts deep into your palm with the decorated dagger. A searing pain spreads along your arm. Has this dagger ever been cleaned? Utter silence in the big hall. The only sound you can hear is the rush of your blood to your own head and your heart pounding loudly in your chest. The high priest grabs your wrist and holds your hand over the precipice. Blood drips from the open wound into the all-consuming darkness. This sacrifice we offer you, O Father Dagon. Is there really someone or something down there? Your insides cramp. Maybe that's all it is. Perhaps all they want to do is drip some blood into the abyss, then they can have that if they like. Several liters of it, as long as they let you go afterwards. Ayah Cthulhu, the choir starts again. The verse gets louder with each repetition. Ayah Cthulhu, blah blah. The sound of the sea seems to be getting louder. Waves start whipping against the walls of the cliff. No, those aren't waves. Nervously you try to swallow, only now do you notice how dry your mouth has become. Rumbling, splashing, whatever it is, it's getting louder, and it's coming closer. Increasingly worried, you risk a glimpse into the abyss. Oh, boy. Our sacrifice is worthy, cries the high priest, taking a step back. You would do the same, but your body is frozen to the spot. That, when it happens, dark green tentacles crawl out of the abyss and lull about the dim light of the torches. Your mind is struggling to process what you are seeing. The dark surface, you refuse to call this abnormality skin. Does it not seem to reflect the light, but to absorb it, almost devour it? A writhing ball of shadows. Several tentacles leap forward and wrap themselves like iron shackles around your limbs and other parts of your body. It would take too much time to list where exactly these tentacles touch you, and it would not be an exaggeration to say that they're truly everywhere. Panic clouds your thoughts. You don't notice how Kate and Lonnie recoil in horror. You're being lifted into the air like a doll and pulled into the darkness. Then you're plunged into the sea. Saltwater flows into your airways. Then, suddenly, the tentacles stop pulling at you and only gently cradle you. When you open your eyes, you stare into a huge, shimmering yellow eye. The pupil has this strange, otherworldly shape, and you've seen something like this before in deep-sea documentaries. This yellow eye is the last thing your human form ever sees. Then your transformation begins. Kind of reminds me of a frog eye. Oh, shit. Dagon has accepted you as a sacrifice. A great honor. I'm kind of curious what the other option would do, but hey. I got accepted as a sacrifice. I think it's pretty good. I do believe that's as far as I'll go with this, just because my throat's already dying. This was surprisingly interesting. Well, just right off the bat, I like the way it has like the tentacle effects and stuff that only happen in one other part of the game. Kind of has that breaking the fourth wall kind of feel to it. Story itself, well, I mean, it is mostly Innsmouth stuff. It was interesting, it was fun to read. Not as fun trying to traverse some of the paths. There's a ton of endings in this game, like 27 in total. I don't know how many I have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, yeah, 9, 10. So I have like 10 out of the 27 some. About the only criticism I could really have is just literally the lack of red text color differential, the way we see in visual novels, where once you've been through a specific route, it would color the text like yellow instead of white, for example, so that if you had to go back and you skipping through red text, then it hits something new, you just know. Other than that, I have absolutely no complaint. It has this constant background ambience to it. The style of humor, not as prevalent as I was expecting based on the reviews, and the horror aspect of it was just kind of alright. I wasn't expecting anything big though with it. I like it for what it is. Absolutely.